Welcome to our video presentation in preparation for the 2013 Gem State Challenge Tournament in Boise. Normally we would try to have a referee meeting to go over tournament issues, but that wasn't possible this year. So I've recorded this video and hope that everybody will take a look at it and review the information prior to arriving at the tournament starting this coming Friday, October the 4th. So why don't we go ahead and get started and try to keep this as short as possible. First of all, rules of competition. Everyone should have a copy of the rules of competition with them at all times, and that can be downloaded from the idahoyouthsoccer.org website. Here's the address. You can also get a link to the rules of competition on Arbiter, on Swisser.org, or by going directly to idahoyouthsoccer.org, clicking on tournaments, and then clicking on Gem State. Scroll down and you'll see a link to the rules. Please make sure you have read the rules prior to showing up at the fields. That is something a professional referee does. It's part of your homework. It says a lot about you when you show up at the referee tent asking for a copy of the rules of competition because one, you haven't read them, two, you haven't printed them, and three, you don't have them with you. So please take care of this ahead of time so that we're all on the same page and applying the same rules to all the games. It's really hard to explain to a coach why the referee applied the wrong rules. In fact, it's impossible. So the other thing you'll need to know, of course, is the D3 modified rules for U10 games. All of the U10 games in the tournament will apply the D3 rules. And this is important because over 50% of the games in the tournament are for U10. So whether or not you're the center, you're an AR, or whether you're an experienced referee, adult referee, and think you know the rules, please make sure you have a copy with you and review them. It's very important that we get the rules with the field divided into thirds and with the goal kick rules, and that we apply them correctly. This is especially important if you have also done Rush Select games or Nova Youth games or PAL games where their rules are different. So let's take care of it, make sure we have copies of these with us at all times. Gem State is considered a zero tolerance policy tournament. And by that, we want you to focus on getting better rather than having to deal with obnoxious coaches or spectators. So if you have to deal with them, please feel free to deal with them appropriately. But your primary focus should be in using this tournament because you're doing a lot of games in a row where you can work on getting better at things. So what types of things are we talking about here? Control your substitutions. This is often a real problem for new referees. Remember that no player should be stepping on the field until you beckon them on the field. And no player should really be coming on the field until the substituted player has left the field. I often see in the younger games a mad rush of players coming on the field while other players are going off the field. And as you get older and the teams get older, this becomes a real problem. So do a good job at controlling your substitution. You have to assert yourself a little bit out there. So that's one thing you can work on. Another thing, please work on blowing your whistle louder. This is a common problem among new referees. They don't tend to blow the whistle loud enough. Also remember that to vary the loudness of the whistle depending on what the situation is. A really hard foul may demand a louder whistle. A couple little toot-toots, to stop play and take care of substitutions is different. So work on that. Another thing you can work on is really running your diagonal and getting deeper into the corners of the field. I see too many referees, particularly new referees, trying to referee the game from the center circle or in the vicinity of the center circle. Please work on moving, staying close to play. You'll be able to sell your calls much better, if you're 10 yards away from play versus 30 or 40 yards away from play. So work on that. Work on your mechanics. Make sure your signals are crisp and clear, given at the proper angle, so that everybody knows exactly what you're calling. It really helps. That's why we have the signals. Dress professionally. We've covered this a couple of times already this year in the update emails. Referees out there with their shirts hanging out look unprofessional. When you look unprofessional, people don't take you seriously. Therefore, it's harder to sell your calls to everybody around. Professional dress. You are being paid to do these games, and you are expected to look professional. So make sure you have your shirt tucked in. Make sure your 2013 or 2014 badge is on straight on your shirt. You have black shorts, referee socks, and primarily black shoes. That's your uniform. So to the extent possible, please make sure you are dressed professionally in the correct uniform. All right. We have adults and experienced younger referees assigned to be ARs on our U10 to U12 games. As you know, normally we don't have ARs in those games, but in this tournament we do. And one of the things we want those ARs to do is to help out the centers, particularly the newer centers, less experienced centers. So if you're an experienced ref or an adult, please make sure you're helping control the coaches. Remind them it's a zero tolerance policy, and they just need to tone it down a little bit and lay off the center referee. Help with the substitutions. You make sure that those players aren't running willy-nilly onto the field. You can help school the coaches and say, hey, coach, you got to keep your players, on the touchline until the center calls them onto the field. Be a mentor to the new referees or the younger or less experienced referees. And by being a mentor, this really just means giving them one or two things to work on in each half. So don't overwhelm them. Just give them something. Blow your whistle louder. Try to stay closer to play, and then watch and see how they do in the next half. Sometimes you may be with a center referee for 2 or 3 games, so it gives you a real opportunity to work on some things. And if you're the center, please take this instruction to heart and try to work on it. We're here to help you to get better, and when you get better, you become more confident and you start to grow. So this is a tournament where we really try to work hard and helping everybody to get better. Check-in. For those of you who have not done tournaments in Boise before, our procedure is very different. We set up a referee tent at the fields. It will be above fields 5 and 6 at Simplot. And you are required to check in with me prior to every game that you do. Before the first game of the day, I expect you there 45 minutes before that first game. So if you have an 8 a.m. game Saturday morning, I expect you there ready to check in at 7:15. I'm going to be there by 7 and set up ready to go. So try to be there 45 minutes. Many of you will have back-to-back games. You can check in for several games at the same time. But when you need to check back later in the day, after you have a break, at least 30 minutes before those subsequent games. If you don't check in, this is my pay sheet. The big charts that I keep at the field are what I pay people off of for tournaments. So if you don't come and check in, you're not going to get paid for the game. Even if you're there, it won't matter. Your responsibility is to check in 45 minutes before the game. Okay? Team rosters. Okay? Please get a team roster from both teams prior to the game if you're the center or if you're the AR doing the check-in. And make sure it has an approved stamp on it. That stamp changes from tournament to tournament. I don't know what it'll be like this time. It could be a star, a smiley face, something, but there'll be some kind of an approved stamp on that, and it should have a signature of Verna Weiss uh, on there as the registrar. So look for that. No player cards. You don't need to worry about player cards in this tournament. Um, so uh, just make sure you have that roster. Okay. Substitutions. We need to be on the same page because we deal with different leagues with different substitution rules. In this tournament, the substitution availability is prior to your team's throw-in. So if your team is up, one team is up, team A, the red team is up, and it's their throw-in, they can substitute. The other team, the yellow team, team B, even if they're up and ready to go and the team A substitute, they can't sub. It's only on your team's throw-in. All right, let's keep that in mind. Prior to a goal kick, either team can sub. All right, that's pretty standard. After a goal, again, pretty standard. Injury. If you stop play as a referee, you can allow substitutions. That's in your discretion. But usually, if teams want to substitute, it's better just go ahead and let them substitute. This tournament's a lot of fun. It's supposed to be fun, and playing games with coaches on substitutions doesn't make a lot of sense. So go ahead and allow it. Obviously, you will see one thing that's missing here: corner kicks. No substitutions on corner kicks. Okay. Stoppage time and overtime. This applies to all tournament games: pool play, semifinals, and finals. There is none. Okay? So I don't care if there's injuries. I don't care if the game the game starts late. You should, if the teams aren't ready to go, start your clock. It's at the start time and let the coaches know that you've started your clock, and that becomes their problem. This is particularly important after halftime. A lot of teams have trouble getting back out there. You got to give them a warning. Say 2 minutes, we're starting the game, the second half, coach, and then start your clock and let everybody know that, hey, I'm starting my clock. If you guys aren't out here, you're just wasting your own game time. Okay. So again, no stoppage time, no overtime. Even in finals, we go straight to kicks. Semifinals and finals go straight to kicks. All other games can end in a tie. A few things to remember. Obviously, start the game on time. Our games are in very narrow time slots, and we don't have a lot of extra sunlight at the end of the day. We go all the way. I think our last games are, start about 5:30. So it's very important that we get the game started on time. That means teams don't have to warm up on the field. A lot of our younger teams, U10s, U11s, U12s, think they have to warm up on the field. Not true. They can warm up off the field, and when the previous game is over, you can get them out there and say, hey, we're starting in 2 minutes. Get your teams out there. Okay. End the games on time. Remember, there's no stoppage time, so there's no reason for a game to go over. Keep your half times to 5 minutes, and this won't be a problem. If you're an AR there and the center hasn't arrived yet, then you as the AR need to get those teams checked in off the field for the next game. Let's not be standing around doing nothing. Get the teams checked in so that they're ready to go. And if it's game time and the center isn't there yet, the senior AR becomes the center and starts the game. If you haven't centered before, or it doesn't matter. You become the center, and the game has to start, and you remain the center for the entire game. Once you do that, when the center shows up, he'll pick up the other AR slot, and then you have to report that back to me that there's been a switch so that I can make the switch on my charts. Okay. Okay, this is something all of you seasoned referees have heard me talk about time and time again. Probably not a good idea to skip it though, because we still continue to make mistakes on game cards. I'll keep presenting this in the hopes that eventually we will get it to the point where we don't make any mistakes in the course of a tournament. If you are new, please pay particular close attention to this. Every center referee will receive a blue game card when they check in at the referee tent. When you get the card, please double check the information in the upper left-hand corner on that white label. Make sure I've given you the correct game card. I do make mistakes too, and occasionally I hand out the wrong game card, and that causes us all a lot of problems, and that's bad on me. So please double check before you walk away from the referee tent that I've given you the correct card. Now, the card is presented the way it is to give you multiple ways to make sure you are recording things correctly when you turn the game card back in to me. Okay, so let's go over what these checks are to make sure we get it correct. The first thing I want you to do is write in the jersey color of the two teams on the game. Oftentimes people don't remember the names of the teams that are playing, but they will remember jersey colors. And so it's important that you write these in on your game card in case we have a question about the outcome of the game. Oftentimes in this kind of a tournament, you're going to have two teams from the same club playing each other. So if you have rush versus rush, it doesn't really help much unless we know which color is which. So write those in and make sure you know who the home team and who the away team is and get those colors correct. The white label will tell you exactly who's home and who's away on each game until we get to semifinals and consolation games, finals, whatnot, where you always have to go and check the board to see who's playing in those games. So there's the first thing. Second thing is we give you two great big boxes in the upper right-hand corner to put in the final score. Please write the numbers in big Arabic numbers so that everyone can see them and we don't have to guess as to what you're actually writing in there. All right, that should be pretty obvious. The final thing we ask you to do is if you have a winner, go over to the white label and circle the name of the winner of the match. Obviously, if the match ends in a draw, you don't have to do this. But if you circle it, now you have three ways to check that you have everything correct. You have colors, you have a score, and you've double checked to make sure that the right team has won by circling their name. You can also, of course, double check with your ARs to make sure you filled it out correctly. If you have time, checking with the coaches or the team managers is also okay. However, I don't rely heavily on that one because we're in a tournament and things are too fast-paced and you often don't have time to do that. The one thing you really don't have to do, because I don't care and nobody cares, is fill in the player number and the minute somebody scored. It doesn't matter. As long as you get the final score correct, who scored when, they don't keep track of that. All right? So there you have it. Game cards. After the game, each game card has to come back to the referee tent. All right. If you're coming back as a center referee, or if you're close by to the referee tent, please bring it back after each game. The alternative is to give the game card to a field marshal if there is one. Oftentimes, IYSA personnel are riding around in their golf carts, and it'll be identified usually on the front of the golf cart that they are with IYSA. You can give the game card to them. They'll make sure it gets back. Or send one of your ARs back up to the referee tent. This won't be a problem Friday night because we only have one set of games, so you can just bring it back after your game. Saturday morning is not as critical, but beginning Saturday afternoon, we have to get the game cards back because it starts determining who plays when on Sunday. And obviously on Sunday, we have to have the game cards back after every single game. You can't hold on to a game card on Sunday for 2 or 3 games because we're waiting to find out who's playing in semifinals and finals. So you have to make arrangements somehow to get those back up here. That tends to be a problem only on fields like field 2 or field 13 and 14, 12, 11. Those are the farthest fields. So do your best to get those back as quickly as possible. Things you need to have with you during the tournament. Please print your schedule out ahead of time and bring it with you. It's harder for me when I've got 100 referees to check in. If you're standing there saying, I don't know where I'm scheduled or what time or what field, if you know you've got your schedule right there and you can tell me I'm on field 8 south at 8 o'clock, 9:20, and 10:40, boom, you're checked in, you get your game card, and I'm on to the next person that's waiting in line behind you. So uh, please do that. One, it makes sure you get to the right place for your game, uh, for every game that you have. Second, it helps your fellow referees get through the check-in line a lot faster, and we have less problems when referees print their schedule out ahead of time. I will not have printed schedules at the field for you, so you can do that ahead of time since the schedules, the assignments are already published. Make sure you have with you a copy of the rules of competition, including the U10 rules. Please put that in your gear bag, and your gear bag should go with you to the field so that you have it there if there is any question. Okay, doesn't do you any good if there's a question and your gear bag and the rules are up in the referee tent. Okay, and the U10 rules with you, and you need to have your data book with you. You can keep the score on the game card if you want, or on your separate score sheet, doesn't matter, and then transfer it at the end of the game. But you need your data book because if you have red cards or yellow cards to give in the course of a game, you got to have those with you. And we've had tournaments where referees show up and they're doing a game and they don't have any way to show a yellow card. You can still handle that, obviously. It's better to be able to show everyone that you're actually giving a card. If you do give a card, you must return to the referee tent and fill out your paperwork at the referee tent. It's not done online for the tournament. We have to have it done at the referee tent as soon as possible after your game. So any red or yellow card, you got to do your paperwork. All right, I will have the copies in the referee tent. Okay, don't forget, sunscreen. I know it's October, but it's supposed to be sunny for the tournament and in the mid 70s. So wearing sunscreen is important. You can still get sunburn out there. So I remind everybody of that each time. Water bottles. Please bring your own water bottles. Normally we will have the big jugs of water or Gatorade in the referee tent for you to fill your water bottles with, but we won't have separate water bottles for you, so that's your responsibility. Bring your water bottles. You might want to bring your own food. Most of you are out there all day long, on both Saturday and Sunday, so there's limited food availability. I haven't heard yet what it's going to be, but I know it's usually limited. So if that concerns you, and bring your food. Otherwise, you're going to have to leave Simplot and go over to Subway or McDonald's or someplace like that to eat. A couple of final reminders. Start the games on time. I've hit this one a number of times, but it bears repeating over and over again. Start the games on time. And finally, it's very important that you have fun out there. The players are having fun. The coaches should be having fun. The spectators are there cheering and having fun. So use this as an experience to have some fun, learn something, become more confident as a referee. Many of you are going to get experience as assistant referees for the first time. So learn from every game you're on, and just get better and better throughout the tournament. And finally, if you have any questions about anything prior to the tournament, please send me an email or text me, and I will do my best to get back to you as quickly as possible. Otherwise, I will see everybody who's assigned Friday night. Games start at 5:15. I will be there certainly by around 4:15. I understand Fridays are tough to get there 45 minutes ahead of time. Please do your best so we can get everybody in and get the games started on time so we can all go home Friday night on time and do it all again Saturday morning. So thank you very much.